Hey everyone, welcome to episode 209 of the All Dolphins podcast. The one making the goofy faces over there, that's Omar. I am Poupart, not making goofy faces.
The one with the Montreal hat on his head, even though he just got a fresh haircut. Show people the fresh haircut.
There you go. Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, he's got a full head of hair, no bald spots, no nothing, and he just prefers to have a cap stapled to his head.
Yeah, I prefer it's too much forehead. Prefer to have the hat. So
Okay.
We'll go with the hat. For those who do not like the hat, sorry.
Kitty says the kitty. This episode is dedicated to us breaking down something that popped off last weekend in terms of Greg Jennings, who he's a Fox analyst, and we covered him here for one season with the Dolphins during the Adam Gase era. And he did a quarterback ranking that kind of hit the hornet's nest, and we will forever continue to discuss Tua Tagovailoa and where he stands in the quarterback hierarchy, and we'll do that in this episode. But first, let's get to the history lesson that we've got from Alan Poupart, who will take us down memory lane.
Back to 2009. This was the season after the Dolphins surprised the entire NFL by going from 1-15 to 11-5 to win the AFC's title, and they were saddled. You want to talk about tough schedules? They opened that season with 3 consecutive games against playoff teams from the previous years, including at Atlanta to start off with. They were against Indianapolis at home, and then they were at the Chargers. All the 3 of those teams had made the playoffs the year before. Didn't start off well. The Dolphins started off 0-3. Worse, Chad Pennington went down with the first of a couple of injuries that ultimately would end his career. Chad Henne had to come in as his replacement. Dolphins wound up going 7-9, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Not a hell of a lot stood out from that game, from that season, except I want to say that was the year, and Omar, you got the media guide.
Yes.
Where they beat the Jets 30-25 in a November game with Ted Ginn scoring not once but twice on a kickoff return of 100 yards.
Yes, that was November the 1st. I think what stood out to me about that season, Ricky Williams was back from one of his many suspensions. They were still executing the Wildcat, and I believe Ronnie Brown went down with a Liz Frank injury against Carolina. Look at me, I'm showing off now.
Whoa, look at you!
And Ricky Williams finished that season rushing for 1,100 yards and scored 11 touchdowns. And I remember at the end of the season, when he was basically on fumes, Bill Parcells gave him an empty gas can.
He did. Yes.
Yes. Basically, how much do you have left in the tank, old man? Which is what Parcells said to him. Parcells would do all kinds of things like that to needle you. He'd do that to the media as well. He'd tell me he'd wrap fish with one of my columns the other day. He would walk by and he'd just say something that stab you right in the ribs. It was like a jail shank, and it was always a humbling statement.
We want to talk about guys who necessarily wouldn't score very high grades in terms of interpersonal relationships. He might be one.
Oh, no. I disagree with you. There. While he was abrasive,
no.
All the players loved him, and you won't find many players that did not like him, publicly or privately. And he was about as sandpaper as it comes. But I think he is this, but he cared, which is.
But I also think that it was more about respect than it was about affection, if we're going to be honest about it. Since we don't want to spend too much time on the history lesson, because some of you folks out there don't care for those, I do remember a Thursday night game against Carolina. They won 24-17, and Ricky had like maybe 3 touchdowns and really stole the show. First round pick that year was Vontae Davis. Second round pick was the Dolphins doubling up on cornerbacks with Sean Smith.
Great strategy.
Which looked for a while like a really, really good starting tandem until kind of went by the wayside. Sean Smith left as a free agent, and Vontae Davis, as we all know, was traded to the Colts.
And I support both moves, but yeah, and Miami went through a little bit of a nightmarish period at cornerback for a little while, and eventually found their way. But yes, that was
you can say it until they got Brent Grimes. I'll say it for you. I'll save you the trouble. I'll say it for you. Yeah, it was kind of a lull a little bit at cornerback until Brent Grimes came on the scene in 2013.
I got to remember if Jason Taylor was on that team or off that team, because you know that during that. Now Jason Taylor would tell you he was not like Parcells.
Correct. In 09, he was back.
Yes, 09 he was back. Started 15 games, pretty much replaced Philip Merlin. You are right.
10 he was gone. 11 he was back.
Yeah, and really Parcells. It was him and a personal beef with Parcells, but Tony Sperano loved him and kept wanting to bring him back. And him and Parcells,
Dancing with the Stars was the beef. That Jason Taylor wanted to do that in the offseason, and Bill Parcells had a bug up his,
I agree with you. Yeah, but Jason always wanted out, and Jason wanted out at that point, and Parcells was banishing all veterans. I mean, the first order of business was to cut Zach Thomas. Come on, like that was a real harsh reality. Remember when they cut all the veterans?
No, that was before Zach was gone. Was gone after 20.
Yeah, but Parcells was banishing and challenging everybody who was pushing his authority, everybody who could push back.
Correct. Anyway,
let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back to 2024. The big story, the evolving story around the Dolphins these days is a search for a new defensive coordinator to replace Vic Fangio, who, by the way, officially became DC, of the Philadelphia Eagles on Saturday. Who could have predicted that, right, Omar?
Yeah, I think the paperwork was signed on Friday. Like, yeah, it was old news. It was a mutual breakup. You know, both parties, nobody got dumped. Both parties just decided this wasn't for us. And they moved on. And I think that they're fine with that. Now, the question is, who will be the replacement for Vic Fangio? And you've got some new candidates.
Yep, we have a new one reported to be scheduled for an interview. And it's the first identified in-house candidate. You and I both think that Ronaldo Hill and Anthony Campanelli will get a look if they haven't already. But the first identified is outside linebackers coach Ryan Slowick, not to be confused with Bobby Slowick, who was the offensive coordinator with the Houston Texans, who's getting an awful lot of buzz as a future head coach.
Are they related?
They're brothers. And their father is a longtime NFL assistant coach, Bob Slowick, who is now coaching in the Canadian Football League. So Ryan Slowick will join Brandon Staley and Bobby Babich, linebackers coach of the Buffalo Bills, as the identified candidate scheduled to get interviews. This has the looks of a search that could take a while.
I don't necessarily know if Mike McDaniel should be in a rush, and let me share why I don't think he should be in a rush. Ultimately, we know that Mike McDaniel does not heavy regards to coaching his defense or the desire to have a heavy involvement in defense. They're going to be some changing pieces of that defense, particularly if Christian Wilkins does not come back. And I don't think that that's a possibility. I think that Miami will either work out a long-term contract or franchise tag him. Anything else is just asinine. I hope that doesn't violate the YouTube gods. And and here's the thing I will say. We all know that head coaches have 3 to 4 year windows to pretty much get what the first tier of the goal of the franchise, reach the first tier. First tier for the Miami Dolphins is to win a playoff game. Let's say next year the Miami Dolphins return, have some pieces that are not exactly ideal in defense, and they take a step back from the 10th ranked defense under Vic Fangio to the 16th or 17th or 18th ranked defense. Do you think that Mike McDaniel can take on that water of, let's say, not producing a winning season or not getting to the playoffs because the defense is, you got to be dragging the defense along? I don't think he can. So that's why I think it has to be somebody is going to come in, get the job done, and hit a home run. Resources is not an issue. If it's Brandon Staley, and I know some fans have their opinions of Brandon Staley, I personally, I want a veteran head coach to take over that position, because one of the things that I always have an issue is coaches who don't know what they don't know and they don't have somebody that they can lean on. And right now, there is absolutely nobody that Mike McDaniel can lean on his staff for guidance and wisdom and for shared experiences. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to Chris Greer to lean on how to manage my roster or manage personnel and manage that. That's just not what I'm doing. No offense to Chris, but I'm sorry. If you were that good, your track record would be a little bit better.
Yeah, and along those lines, though, Ryan Slowick does not have any head coaching experience. He does not have any defensive coordinator experience.
Yeah.
So if we're going by that model, it's one of those where you're taking a shot as you see somebody's potential, and this is a projection, as opposed to getting a guy who's got some established body of work.
But do we need to be do we need to be feeding off potential and upside at this very particular moment?
Oh no, I agree with you. But this is you and I talking.
Yes,
Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer may have a very different opinion. Where
you're right. And truthfully speaking, Steve Ross, as an owner, has a very different opinion. He wants young, unproven, hungry. That has always been his preference. He has never hidden that. He's said that on the record all the time. That's why you've seen every single head coach that he's hired be a young, unproven, first-time head coach. That is how he hires for his businesses as well. So we will see.
No, correct. Because the last time he hired a head coach who had previous NFL head coaching experience was Dave Wanstead. It wasn't him. It was Huizenga.
It wasn't him. Yeah,
it was Huizenga.
He's never done it.
Also, should be pointed out that if we're talking about Mike McDaniel heading into his third season, the two coaches before him were gone after their third season. Adam Gase and Brian Flores, 3 and out. Obviously, McDaniel having started with 2 consecutive playoff seasons, maybe that's bought him some more time. But if there's a step back in 2024,
no, let's not do that, because I'm sorry. Even if you take a step back in 2024, you shouldn't be ousted after 2 winning seasons. But I do believe, and I have not hidden the fact of saying this, depending on what you do and the moves that you make this offseason, you only have the 2024 window. Like the books, the roster, it's barren, and you're staring at a reset. You are, if 2024 does not go right, you are staring at a reset. And the question is, will that reset include the change of a GM? And will the change of a GM include the change of a coach? And Steve Ross doesn't make sweeping change all at one time. So he doesn't do that. That is not what he does. He's not going to do it. So more than likely, if the 2024 season is a bust, that would probably be Chris Greer's last as the executive of the Miami Dolphins. And then Steve Ross is going to tell him, the new GM, to come in and say, okay, figure out what it is, take a season to figure out what it is you like and what it is you need and reset the roster. But Mike McDaniel is safe. We know how Steve Ross operates. And then Mike McDaniel is in a win or lose your job role. And I think that's just the nature of the NFL and where things are.
Except, again, I wouldn't make such a definitive statement, because Adam Gase had a playoff season his first year as Dolphin head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2017, he had the excuse of not having Ryan Tannehill the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And things didn't get much better in 2018, and then he was gone.
Okay.
So,
however, time out. He got fired because his players did not want him back. That was...
Yeah, but it's also Stephen Ross's decision to make.
It's Stephen Ross's decision, but once your players don't want you back, it's a done deal. You might as well stick a fork in it. And then you could make the argument, Brian Flores did not get fired for performance. Brian Flores got fired for insubordination and not being on the same philosophical playing page as the owner. So that was both of them are very unique situations. What we know in the NFL now is, once your players say you're done, you're cooked, stick a fork in it, you either have to change the entire roster or you change the coach. A lot easier to change the coach than it is to change the entire roster. And then obviously with Brian Flores, that was You're real
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
we don't need to go over that.
Yeah. The owner walking around on eggshells around his head coach and vice versa. I'm not sure that's going to work. That's going to work out well. Right now, there is no rift between Mike McDaniel and Steve Ross.
Mm-mm.
Steve Ross, I'm looking forward to the NFL owners meeting. You can tell me where it is. Where is it? Is it here? Palm Beach?
I don't believe so. I want to say it's in Arizona.
Ooh, okay. All right, then I won't be looking forward to the NFL owners meeting. It is primarily Steve Ross uses the owner to make. I mean, Steve Ross uses the head coach, and this is a little secret. If you make him popular, he likes you. And Mike McDaniel will make him popular.
Uh, if they succeed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they go 9 or 7 and 10, and the offense takes a step back, the Dolphins may stop being the flavor of the month. That's
But
okay.
Right now,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and speaking of the offense in 2024, we're going to get to our Tua conversation because that's what we do. I just want to say one thing related to the AFC and NFC title games because there's the Dolphin twist here that I think is important to point out. And it deals with Dan Campbell's fourth down decisions and basically his comment of like, this is what we do. This is how we succeed in the regular season. This is what we're going to continue to do. I am of the very humble opinion that, that was some bad game management. And I would hope, and I relay this to the Dolphins because Mike McDaniel's MO was also to go for the gusto pretty much all the time. I would hope that Mike McDaniel, facing a similar situation, would have the wisdom to not go analytics, okay, 24-10, 4th and 3, 46-yard field goal to make it a 3-score game, 27-10, or it's 4th and 5, sorry. Or do I go for the first down? Analytics say, oops, there's a 2% better chance of game win probability, so let's go for it. And to me, it boggles the mind how you do not go for the 3-score lead on top of matching what San Francisco just did with a 5-minute drive that only got them 3 points. You had the ball for 4 minutes. Get back their 3 points that they just got. Get yourself the 3-score lead. I don't know. To me, it was.
I had more of an issue with the not going for the tie late in the game like that. Everybody keeps bringing up that one. I had more of an issue. You go for the tie. I understand his thought process.
I'll give you mine, Ben, when you're done. Go ahead.
I understand his thought process, but I'm sorry. That could have been the difference in the game right there. You have one, you get the tie, you have one good defensive stop, and then or did you just not feel like your defense could stop them? I don't support either of the calls. However, I understood the first half call a lot better than I understood the second half call.
No, it was third quarter, it wasn't second half. The one that would have made it 27-10 was halfway through the third quarter, which makes it to me even more egregious. That's you got a quarter and a half left. Get yourself your three score lead. As for the other one, I didn't have quite as much of an issue with it because you're attempting a 48-yard field goal, just a tie. Which means Frisco's going to get the ball back even if you make it in a tie game. Whereas if you go for it and you get it, then you're putting yourself in the position to go score a touchdown, and then you take the lead. So that one, and then calling a running play on 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line with a minute left, when you need to save your timeouts, and then David Montgomery gets stoned for a 2-yard loss. Call your timeout. Basically, comes on. Okay, you got to recover the onside kick, or you lose. And we all know in today's NFL, there is no such thing. It's happened once. An expected onside kick, I think, has been recovered once.
The player had his hand on the ball, just wasn't able to corral it in.
He was before the 10-yard marker, though. They got flagged on the play, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So my point is, the whole point of all of this is Mike McDaniel likes to go for the gusto all the time. Please, if you get in that kind of situation in the third quarter up 24-10, kick the field goal.
Don't tell Mike McDaniel how to coach his team.
No, I'm asking him very politely. Please, with sugar on top.
Well, let's get to another polite conversation now.
I'm sure.
About to have for us here. This is triggered by Greg Jennings's basically a diatribe on Friday leading up into the NFL games. NFL Network put up Greg Jennings's QB ranking, which I really didn't have an issue with it. Really, it just ranked the top 16 quarterbacks. And Tua Tagovailoa was excluded from that list. Which, hey, okay, no argument. If that's your list, that's your list. You're a wide receiver. You know what you want your quarterbacks to look like. If that's your list, that's your list. Patrick Mahomes was one. Joe Burrow was number two. Lamar number three. CJ Stroud was number four. That was my first issue with the list. A little high for a guy who's done it for one season.
Yeah, but damn,
Josh Allen was number five. Come on, are you going to argue that CJ Stroud is better than Josh Allen? No.
No.
Okay. Then Dak Prescott was number six. I have no issue with Dak Prescott being number six. I can make the argument that Dak is about to probably become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL again.
that's irrelevant. But
I mean, money.
to the discussion,
Okay.
the clutch factor, I wish with Prescott would be a little higher.
Okay. Then he's got Herbert at number seven, which I think is slightly high for a guy who does not have the it factor. Alan Papard is going to silence himself, fearing the attack.
But I'm going to say, if you have no problem with Dak Prescott, who by your definition does not have the it factor, because clutch is your definition of it, Dak doesn't have it any more than Herbert. So
you're correct. I think Greg Jennings' list is basically based on arm strength, just my personal opinion. And I know how quarterbacks think, and they really couldn't care less about anything except how good can the quarterback throw the ball. Jared Goff was number 8, and Stafford was number 9. Depending on what you want to view or how you want to stack up your list, or whether you want to say it's about upside, future potential, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, his former quarterback, was number 10. I have no issue with that, actually, because the last I checked, before Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, he was a 2-time MVP recently in his 40s. Then we get to number 11, which features Kirk Cousins. And I will argue to you, I am a Kirk Cousins fan. I will argue to you, Kirk Cousins is about to challenge to reset the quarterback market again. He is an unrestricted free agent. He has been the best businessman in the NFL for the last decade, and how he does business. And the first quarterback in NFL history that was a free agent that had a fully guaranteed contract. Others have followed suit, and it all starts with the quarterback. So don't sleep on Kirk Cousins. So we will find out exactly how high Kirk Cousins ranks based on what he's offered and the deal that he signs with his new team. And there are a lot of quarterback starving teams. I think Pittsburgh will be a great home for Kirk Cousins to finish out his career. Then you get to Jalen Hurts at 12. I'm with you on that one. Then we go to 3 guys that really where I have the issue mostly with the list, and this is where the list falls apart for me. Where Jordan Love at 13 after half of a good season.
23 and 3.
Trevor Lawrence, who I would argue at 14, all tools, hasn't done squat. And Kyler Murray, who, if you put Kyler Murray as a free agent, put him on the trade block right now, I'm pretty sure there would be a very limited amount of teams that would be interested, just like there would be with Tua Tagovailoa. So no, I'm not fighting anybody regarding that. And then at number 16, which is what I found quite disrespectful about his list, he's got the Super Bowl quarterback, Brock Purdy, at number 16. And I argue and have said, I'm a Brock Purdy fan, have been since last year. I'm not caping for him because he took a quarterback to the Super Bowl. I do not believe he is a system quarterback. He delivered a fourth quarter victory against the Green Bay Packers. Nobody put any respect on that. And he had some very clutch plays in that playoff win against the Lions. That scrambling, what?
Well, you think? No, I'm confused. You think he should be higher?
Oh, absolutely. No question. He should be higher. He's a top-rated quarterback in the NFL. He's led
Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, come on.
Stop.
We're going to go again with the passer rating, please.
Efficiency is efficiency, sir. Is it not?
No, passer rating is strictly the pass and the result. Nothing about what happens around receiver being open, pass protection, nothing like that. It's strictly purely, and again, this is stats without context, just like the analytics who say go forward on 4th and 5 when you're up 24-10.
Here's how I put my tiers together when I sat and I computed my quarterbacks.
Go ahead.
I have the tier ones, which to me are the elite quarterbacks. These are the guys where in the final 3 minutes, they're given the ball. They're trailing by 4 and they got 2 timeouts. You should be shaking in your boots that these 4 quarterbacks are absolutely going to cut your throat.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I know it didn't end well for
Ooh,
him.
timing for that's bad. Woof, the timing for that's bad.
Come on, but you know Lamar's a special player. He's a special talent.
He is. He didn't have a good game. They had a
No.
horrible game plan, and they made stupid mistakes all game.
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who basically Tua has been more healthy than Joe Burrow his entire career.
Yeah.
You do realize that.
Yep. Yes, he had two major injuries.
And Joe Burrow happens to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And then we've got Aaron Rodgers. I am putting the old.
That wasn't 4. That was 5.
Yeah, did I say I had 4?
They say you had 4. It's okay.
Okay, I do have 5. Joe and Aaron Rodgers. I put Aaron Rodgers in the elite category because he's still a scary man. And when he's healthy, he's crazy, but he's still scary. So those are my 4, my 5 top tier. You're right, I did say 4. My 5 top tier quarterbacks. Who are your top tier quarterbacks?
Well, I went different than you, and I have a lot more than you. I went big group because we have 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, and I gave a tier to every one of them. I actually have 10 in my tier 1, and it's not strictly about last 4 minutes of a game. It's basically the season starts, and I feel damn good. I have no questions about my quarterback.
Okay.
Not necessarily. And then Patrick Mahomes is clearly at the top. Not necessarily in any other order because I don't want to rank him, but in my tier 1, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and again, obviously, this is where somebody's going to say, "Well, dude, he played 4 snaps last year." We understand that. This is assuming he stays healthy, and because you could apply that to anybody. Lamar Jackson, regardless of the fact that his playoff record is not impressive, he's still going to have 2 MVPs in 6 NFL seasons. Is still 2 MVPs in 6 seasons. Joe Burrow, Commander Clutch. There's nobody who touches him in terms of clutch. Trevor Lawrence, yes, I think a lot more of Trevor Lawrence than he had. And I will say this, he did not have a good year last year. Again, everything also is not strictly when we look at this is where I object to your passer rating is like put Trevor Lawrence on the 49ers last year and see if he has the same kind of crap year he had. I'm going to tell you, no.
They had weapons in Jacksonville now.
They didn't have receivers. They didn't have weapons anywhere near what San Francisco has.
Okay.
I said what I said.
And you would endorse giving Trevor Lawrence a $230 million contract, which is the position that Jacksonville is probably going to be.
I don't think they're going to hesitate for a millisecond.
Yeah,
that's their guy.
So you don't hesitate, but you hesitate with Tua, even though Trevor Lawrence has delivered 1 playoff win. Yes. Only because he's delivered 1 playoff win.
No, because my eyes tell me that's a quarterback.
Oh, because you're loving the arm.
No, yeah. You would have to. This is Omar stirring the crap.
I'm just asking you a question. You're okay.
I'm answering my question, and you're arguing my answer. No, that's not all there is to it. Okay, I think Trevor, and also understand Trevor Lawrence ended the season after basically suffering an ankle injury that would have sidelined some people.
Now we're using injury excuses.
He didn't miss a game.
Okay, now we're using injury excuses. We're bringing in.
And I feel like it, but he did play. He did play, and his play wasn't good enough. But
at least you admit when you feel like it, it's okay. All right, no problem. Let's go.
But then I'm saying that no, it was not an excuse. He didn't play well last year. But I happen to think that if they get things settled a bit around him, he's gonna ball out because that's what I see in him. And again, this is my list. Feel free to tell me.
No Hurts in there?
I'm not done yet. No, okay. I don't have Hurts in tier 1. Mahomes, yes, I have Justin Herbert in tier 1. Yeah, of course I do. And I have Matthew Stafford in tier 1. But I have tier 1.5. Those are guys who are like this close from being put in there. And that would include CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy.
And Brock Purdy, and you put them all above Tua Tagovailoa, correct?
Yes, clearly.
Clearly based on proven track record, ability. Wins,
All of the above,
playoff appearance.
all of the above. Most importantly, my eyes.
Oh, okay.
And
Because
we're not
they
gonna. And
all
we're
have
not gonna.
because they all have the sensational arm that you absolutely
Nope.
need to fall in
Nope.
love.
Nope.
Nope.
I'm gonna use three. Since you love stats, I'm gonna use the three metrics where Tua really comes up way short.
Okay.
Fourth against winning teams, late game situations, and when faced with pressure. Which means basically, as I've said many times, when things are ideal, no problem. The guy's a complete stud. How often are things completely ideal in the playoffs?
Not
Or
not
or
not
in
ever.
game or in games against a contender in December.
Okay.
Okay. And that's why
I can't argue against that because the body of work is not there to defend
correct.
it.
Correct.
Um, let's get into my tier twos, which are begin with Herbert. Um, Dak is in the tier two, as I said earlier. Dak is a very good quarterback. Will he ever win the big game or take the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl? I don't know. But I do know that he's about to become one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. Brock Purdy, who I think is a phenomenal quarterback. He just took his team to the Super Bowl. He was clutch against the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what the issue is people have with him outside of the fact that he has a very talented team around him. But, I think a lot of people had a very talented team around him and couldn't take them to the promised land. Then I've got Stafford, Hurts, Cousins, and then pulling in the rear of my tier twos, I've got Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Stroud, and Carr. Tua, I didn't necessarily rank them in order, but Tua falls somewhere between quarterback number 11 and quarterback number 15. Whether you want to put him ahead of Cousins, Hurts, Lawrence, Stroud, Carr, that we could haggle and debate that all day. Now, what I will say is because he is in the teens and the early teens, if you look at where the teens are in terms of quarterbacks and salary, outside of Kirk Cousins, who made $42 million at the final year of his deal with Minnesota, when Cousins hits the market, he will probably be in the Derek Carr neighborhood of a $35 million salary per year. Maybe a good agent gets it pushed to 40 if you've got multiple bidders. Probably a 3-year guaranteed deal for $120 million. I would argue to you that that is the neighborhood that Tua Tagovailoa is in. I am a Tua fan. I am a Tua believer, but I've said this and I do believe this. If you said Tua, you know what? This isn't working out for us. We're going to put you on the trade block or we're going to release you. I don't think there's a line building up for Tua. I think there'll be one or two teams that are interested, maybe dome teams. And based on the body of work, his market would probably be somewhere in the $30 to $35 million a year realm. And actually, the quarterback who I think his market intrigues me because it could potentially set Tua's market, there are two guys. Baker Mayfield, who will likely be an unrestricted free agent in Tampa if they're not smart enough to franchise tag him, and I might franchise tag him if I were Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Jordan Love, who did not get his fifth-year option, but signed a one-year deal to extend him for $12 million for this upcoming season. Based on your performance, if you're Jordan Love, you're saying, yeah, that $12 million, it ain't really going to do it for me. Let's get back to the table and revisit this contract. And these are my tier 3 quarterbacks.
No,
Baker Mayfield.
Zero tier two. Hold on.
I'm saying
you're
the
doing tier
money,
three right now.
money-wise. And then there's another guy in there in terms of Russell Wilson, who's in my tier 3.
Okay.
He's going to be dislodged from Denver. Denver's also going to be shopping for a quarterback. I don't think they would have much of an interest in Tua. But what is Russell Wilson going to get on the open market, and where is he going to go? That, to me, sets the price point of where and what I'm kind of offering Tua. I have said I do put a offer on the table for a multi-year deal. I'm not sure money. Don't you shake your head.
I'm absolutely going to shake my head. Go ahead.
You shake your head. You don't just throw away a good quarterback. You show him the love. You make sure he feels like he's loved and appreciated and respected. What I'm saying to you is, don't shake your head. I said, stop
I'm
shaking
my
your head.
head. Don't tell
No,
me
you're
what
not
to
going to
do.
shake your head.
I am
No,
shaking. No, I'm okay.
no, you're not going to shake your head.
Head.
Listen, you offer him the Kyler Murray deal. He's not going to accept the Kyler Murray deal, but you made a fair offer. If you choose to play for $23.2 million as opposed to getting $120 million guaranteed, that's on you. And
now, is this what you're predicting they're doing? Or is this what you would advise the Dolphins to do?
that is what I would advise the Dolphins to do. And I do predict that they are going to Christian Wilkinson. And it was fair when they made their offer to Christian Wilkins. It was fair. It was a fair deal. We both sat here and said, you can't pay Christian Wilkins like you're paying these pass rushers.
Correct. And he balled out. And I'm going to
because he has not produced like them. And then he produced like them. And now you're like, oh, well, damn, we're going to have to pay him like those pass rushers. And I do agree with you from this standpoint. You have said, if he balls out, then that's a problem that you welcome. And you figure out a way to make it right.
And then it answers the biggest question you have moving forward as to the sustainability of you being a contender, which is having a stud at quarterback. If he answers the question affirmatively, which is why, to me, under no circumstances, if I have any say in this, do you lock him up long term?
And I hear where you're coming from, but you look at long term as if all 5 years of this $200 million.
No. I mean, no out for 3 years.
Huh? What? No what?
If you do not have an out for 3 years, I think the Dolphins would be negligent.
No, absolutely. I am saying offer him a deal with an out in 3 years. Offer him a deal.
No, that's and I'm saying that's too long. You will that will have been now 7 years. That's ridiculous. And this is what happened with Ryan Tannehill. Can we not agree that it was ridiculous the Dolphins hung on to Ryan Tannehill?
But you never saw anything worth investing in Ryan Tannehill.
Obviously, the Dolphins did.
Yeah, they were wrong. But you saw stuff worth investing in with Tua.
Who has done what against good teams, late games, and when faced with pressure. No, I mean, no offense. Can I give my tiers now? And I'm like you. I have Tua near the bottom of my tier 2s, which include Tua. I have Deshaun Watson.
Oh, damn.
Because I expect him to actually come back. And because before he was injured, he was starting to look a little bit like the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson. Dak Prescott's in my tier 2. Jalen Hurts is my tier 2. I don't put him in anywhere near tier 1 because I'm not a huge fan of his as a passer. He's a guy, though, who, because of the running element and those tush pushes that he converts all the time, that's a major added bonus. And not every quarterback can do it. And it's not just the offensive line. You have a quarterback who squats 600 pounds. That makes a difference. I have Jared Goff would be in my low tier 2. He's a guy, again, if everything's good around him, he'll deliver. I have Kirk Cousins as a tier 2. I have Derek Carr as a lower tier 2. I have Baker Mayfield, who was, who really, he balled out this year. I was really impressed with him.
Tier 2?
Lower tier 2. And again, he's in the bottom of tier 2. There's kind of similar.
Pick a quarterback.
For 2024, if you give me a choice of Tua or Mayfield, I'm not so sure I don't go Mayfield. I'll be honest with you. I'm not so sure I don't go Mayfield.
Why?
Because I have not seen anything whatsoever to suggest that Tua will rise to the occasion when it counts. And we have 4 years of evidence. And if everybody's going to go back to, well, in the first 2 years, coaches didn't like him, offensive scheme sucked, the wide receivers sucked. Well, okay, then what happened then? If we can't mention that, then we can't mention the fact that he had a winning record at all because everything around him sucked. And you're not going to tell me it was all Tua that got that done. And even in games like this, for example, like in big games, the first 2 years, even though, and by the way, this needs to be important. Since we're talking about quarterbacks, it's the most important position. Never once have I said I'm putting all the blame on Tua. It's not on all Tua. And when they lose, it's not on all on Tua. Just like when they win, I'll be the first to say, no, it's not all on Tua.
But you just don't see it. You don't see that killer.
No, I absolutely do not see it. And like I said, if everything around him is working, functioning well, he'll absolutely ball out. But that does not happen down the stretch. Sorry if that bothers or offends people, but I'm just Just being honest.
All right. And did you finish your tier two?
Oh, I did. No, that's the end of my tier 2.
You got a lot of tier twos there.
You want to know my tier 3?
Two are in your tier 2, so he's in the teenies. He's in the teens, right?
He would be anywhere between. Yeah, I have 11 in my 1 and 1 plus, which includes the 3 young guys. So he would be between 11 and 19. To me, he'd be more like in this 15, 16 range, which right now is mid.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, you do not lock up a guy who's mid for 3 more years. For 3 more years to make it 7, when he has yet.
There are a lot of teams locking up mid guys. I'm just being honest with you. A lot of teams are locking up mid guys.
I'll ask the New York Giants if they could have a redo with Daniel Jones, whether they would do it.
Ain't that something? I'm curious what your tier 4 looks like.
Well, my tier 3 is Russell Wilson, Sam Howell. I don't even know why I have him tier 3. Justin Fields, because there's something there, but he hasn't done it yet. And Kyler Murray and Geno Smith are my tier 3.
And your tier 4s are the leftovers.
Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, Aiden O'Connell.
All the quarterbacks that should be getting replaced this year.
Daniel Jones, Desmond Ridder, and Bryce Young, even though I may give an incomplete, because I have an incomplete on Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. I will tell you this. I do think both of those are going to be really good quarterbacks. I saw enough where
Levis, that arm. Yeah, I know how you like that big arm.
Not only that, he's got it's not just the arm, he's got moxie.
Okay, you like don't act like you don't like that big arm. Don't act like you don't like that big arm.
I love the big arm.
Daniel, my tier 4. My tier 4. I mean, these are all guys that are just. Where's Geno Smith on your list?
He's 3. No, yeah, 3.
He's a tier 3. Okay, yeah. My tier 4 are just guys. Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis.
He's not starting. Oh, okay, you got to.
I mean, somebody's gonna offer Tannehill a $10 million a year deal, and he's gonna sit for a minute as a backup, and then he's gonna replace some starter in Indianapolis or Pittsburgh or something. He can do enough, which is, it'll be interesting to see if he does get recycled. But then there are guys like Sam Howell, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Aiden O'Connell that I don't even know if I did include Mac Jones. Replace him. Just replace him. I'm pretty sure Ryan Tannehill can go out there and beat out Mac Jones if it's a fair competition. Just replace him. So that is how we both have Tua ranked in the teens. He's not a top 10 quarterback. I have him a little higher on my list, approaching the top 10. And Poupard has him a little closer to
right down the middle, basically.
If we had to round up or round down, Poupard's going down, I'm going up. But
no, I'm rounding out to where I have him is about mid.
Okay, and you said about 16, so you put him 15.
That's the middle of the pack.
Okay. Oh, okay, middle of the pack, but he's closer to the 20s than he is to the 10s.
Except 16 or 32 teams, so it's
right there. He's the 16th best quarterback in the NFL, according to Alan Poupard.
Around that neighborhood.
Around that neighborhood. Well, we will be here at alldolphins.com. You know how we do it in terms of our material. It's all for free. If you want to find out the latest on your defensive coordinator vacancy and the comings and goings of NFL assistants, the Miami Dolphins are at the Senior Bowl this week, so it'll be interesting to see what stories percolate and pop up from there. I don't know. Somebody showed a picture on Instagram of Mike McDaniel with his daughter, like getting on a flight. I have no idea where they were headed to. I'm hoping it was vacation because I don't think you would take your daughter to Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this organization is. We got a whole big off season, and it will really start popping off after the Super Bowl, which is in 2 weeks. But right now, you know how All Dolphins is. We will be here every single day, feeding you the Dolphins talk and podcasts that you need. Once again, it's all free, alldolphins.com. No paywall, no subscription, no newsletter. All you got to do is type it in, click it, and you're there, and you get all the material for free. We will be back tomorrow, and we're working on some podcast collabs. We'll see how that plays out. Poupard, give them your hat tip.
The obligatory hat tip.
All right.